all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird. Hello, weirdos! This is Stephanie.
And this is your boy, Andrew.
And we are very excited to be back with another History for Weirdos episode for you all.
This is going to be episode number, I think, 24.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Already, isn't
that crazy?
Yeah. After a long hiatus, it is good to be back and doing these consistently again. Mm-hmm. Love Googling random weird things, but having it have a purpose, right?
Yes. I know. We've been doing this for years, and it's good that we finally can make some content and like talk about it with just beyond us.
Yeah.
You know?
That there's other folks that want to hear whatever the nonsense is that we want to babble on about.
Yeah, and I just have to say that I love hearing from you all on, you know, I know you guys have given us a few suggestions already, and also just I think the majority of our emails are just, you know, saying thank you for doing this, or like, you know, we love that you talked about this episode, and it just honestly like makes me so happy.
Yeah, please continue to like leave us comments, write us emails, whatever you want. It keeps us going. It makes us way happier than you could ever know.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you. Okay, for this week's episode, let me tell you all, Andrew was so annoying writing his episode because anytime I'd like get near him or his computer while he was writing, he'd be like, "Babe, don't look! Gosh, babe!"
I think I sounded just like that.
Yeah, and I have terrible eyesight, so I was like, I can't see anything anyway. I don't know what you're doing.
She has these like big glasses, and it's like
still can't see.
You still can't see. Yeah.
But you really got me intrigued because usually you're not super secretive, or you give like kind of hints, or you mention something and then you're like, oh, I might do that for an episode, right?
Yeah.
But this time I genuinely have zero idea what you're going to talk about this week.
Yeah. It's because you know about the story, or at least you know partial about the story. We've talked about this, but it was years ago.
He's speaking in riddles.
Yes, I speak in riddles.
Okay.
I speak in tongue foreign to you.
Then why don't you introduce the topic? Because I can't say like, oh, Andrew's going to tell us about blah, 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 because I don't know.
Excellent. Okay. Well, today's story is about a true weirdo in the best and just weirdest sense of the word.
Tell me.
Okay. He's an 18th century rebel who fought against British imperialism on multiple continents.
Oh, I know who this is.
And, yeah, sorry to our listeners and friends across the pond in advance, because this will be a lot of anti-British talking points, I guess.
I mean, they deserved it.
Steffi's not pulling punches.
No, I am Irish.
She's
American.
Irish, so... I mean, yeah, I have ancestors that fought in the American Revolution, and... the coolest part about this story is this is about one of those ancestors, and I am a direct descendant of this dude, which is really cool to think about.
Say his name.
His name is William Lawson,
Yay!
and he lived to the ripe old age of 94 as well.
That is nuts.
I don't think I'm going to live to 94, and I didn't live in like the 18th and 19th centuries.
Oh,
so.
That's a good point. Just like in his time period, let alone fighting in two major rebellions.
Yeah, against like the biggest and like most advanced army the world had ever seen.
And he still managed to live to 94. Spoiler alert, babe.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, alert. Sorry guys.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. I do know this story. I think your mom sent it, or someone sent it to your mom.
Yeah.
She's really into genealogy, and she connected with like distant cousins, right?
Right, very
and
distant.
They sent her this story, which is quite incredible, of William Lawson.
Yeah, it's so incredible. In fact, even doing some research into this, I found that there is some controversy even in the historical record.
About him?
Not about him, but the historical record about him. And I will get to that. But I just wanted to throw that tidbit out to y'all. So when I bring it up again, you won't be caught completely off guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I really enjoyed researching him because there was just, I had to pull from a lot of sources because he isn't like famous, right?
Right.
A lot of the things we have done before were really famous,
Yeah.
or at least somewhat well documented. Whereas with him, you were really pulling from a lot of different sources, both primary and secondary, right?
Right. He is a historical figure for you and your family, and
Right.
obviously the men and women that fight in revolutions are historical figures, but he's not a known historical figure.
Right.
Where people are his movements here and there.
Yeah,
I
he's
could
not
imagine that's hard.
Exactly, and it's not like he's a signer of the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
He wasn't a general, right? So, and even then, some of the generals are kind of fleeting in terms of the historical record. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it.
Yes.
Yeah. So William Lawson was born on the 26th of June, 1731 in Montrose, Scotland. He was the only son of a widow lady. No information is available on his father. Some people believe his name was Robert, and he may have been killed during the Scottish Jacobite uprisings from earlier on.
Wow.
Again, we don't know.
When were the first Jacobite uprisings? Do you know?
There was a few. There was one in the late 17th century, so like 16 something or another, and then there was a few
like in between.
and then the one that our boy participated in it's called the 45 because it happened in I think 1745.
It's the most famous one.
It's the most famous one.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of Outlander,
which I am.
Yes. Stephanie had to lean into the microphone to say that because
just in case Jamie Fraser's out there listening somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
I mean Sam Hugan. I mean Jamie Fraser.
You mean Jamie Fraser. You don't even mean Sam Hugan. It's Jamie Fraser.
In case he's listening.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. We do look alike.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, we both have big foreheads.
You both have
and they're
big
both have
foreheads.
Scottish ancestry.
Blue eyes and big foreheads.
Yeah. Slightly receding hairline.
Yes.
Must be a Scottish trait. Okay, so I have to give just a little bit of backstory on this just for this to make sense,
Of
but
course.
not going to be as much as what I normally do. So the year is 1745, and the Catholic Scottish rebels are fighting against the British Crown. Their goal was to install James Francis Edward Stuart to the throne by way of his son, Prince Charles Edward Stuart, aka the Pretender, aka the Bonnie Prince.
Ew.
Yeah, I know. You watched. Yeah.
Maybe it's because of Outlander. I do not like the Bonnie Prince. He's not that Bonnie. 1.
That's the most important thing here.
1. 2. What a weenie they made him sound like. I don't think you did more research into the Bonnie Prince for this, but I would be interested in researching him more because it sounds like he was, obviously because he was the Catholic prince and therefore represented Scottish freedom. I think for a while there was a glorified narrative and image around him,
Yes.
right? But I think ironically, as we got further away from that time, the history became clearer that he wasn't like a great leader, is a way of putting it.
It's funny you mentioned that because I did do a little bit of research, not a lot, but a bit of research into the Jacobite uprising of 45, and it did seem that there was a huge... it was almost like, it reminded me of the Russian Revolution, right? Where you had, the Reds, right? They were communists. They all had the same ideology.
Right.
But the Whites, it was a broad coalition, right? And that was kind of like this, is like, you had people that just hated the British.
Right.
And then you had people who were, actual supporters of the Bonnie Prince and
right.
his father,
It's
right?
not necessarily that you had to be like, oh, I'm super devout to Prince Charles or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more so that everyone who was fighting against the British were fighting for Scottish freedom.
Right.
And that meant different things to different people.
Exactly.
Right?
And some were just hardcore Catholics, right?
Hardcore Catholics, just like, oh, a Catholic king should be on the throne.
Right. And so with all that, I think to me personally, it seemed like they were doomed from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
You see this in history a lot. But
Yes.
Anyways, enough doom and gloom for now. There's some good things for, at least for the Jacobites initially. They even, speaking of the good things, their early battles were really successful. They even drove all the way into northern England.
Holy
Yeah, they
smokes.
invaded England. It's because a lot of the redcoats, the English regulars, were deployed on the continent. There was some sort of, I didn't even do a lot of research in this because it was so far from like the point of the story.
Right.
But there was some sort of like Austrian succession thing, and there was war, and
They had other things going on.
they had other things going on. So this was kind of like a secondary thing.
Yes.
Because I don't think, and from my understanding, is the British didn't take this sort of uprising seriously at first.
I mean, especially if they were common.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And maybe they didn't even see them as worthy adversaries at the beginning.
Right, and I think that's probably a very astute assumption.
The Scots are always worthy adversaries.
Yeah, they are. I asked the Romans.
As the Romans. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it was more than the Scots, but they've always had they've always been troublesome up there.
And
I'm troublesome.
Oh yeah, extremely. That's what you think, Andrew Iverson. You think trouble.
Exactly, such trouble. Well, anyways, in April 1746, though, just to kind of speed things along, the end of the road came to the Jacobites. And this, of course, was at the Battle of Culloden Moor, or just the Battle of Culloden. And this is where William's story begins, and at least for this podcast. A 14-year-old William fought in this battle.
14.
A few months away from being 15, but 14 years old.
Wow.
We know nothing of his participation in this battle, but...
Right, what his role was, but
Yeah.
he was in it. I guess 14, especially for that time period and for Scottish culture, definitely would have been old enough to be a man fighting.
Handed a rifle, be like, point it at those red things coming our way.
Oh my god.
So the Scots were crushed. I think, the Scottish army had around 5,000 fighting men, and 1,000 of them were killed in less than an hour. It was just a slaughter.
Oh, I just got chills thinking about it.
And eventually, obviously the Scots were crushed very early on in the battle, and they just dispersed, right? That was the end of the rebellion. Even the Bonnie Prince barely escaped with his life. And he would never, I think, return to the British Isles.
Shocking.
Yeah. I think fun fact, he died in Rome.
Yeah, he was raised in Italy, I think.
Yeah, raised in Italy and France.
Yeah.
So we know, the details or the historical record with William is a little bit sketchy. We know that he was confined to a dirty English prison. According to records, he was either imprisoned in either or both Chester Castle or Carlisle Castle, both in northern England. He then became indentured to a British ship owner at a price of £5 and placed on a ship with 81 Jacobite comrades. He arrived in Virginia in August of 1747 and was soon bound over to a wealthy planter who allegedly paid the captain in tobacco for his new, indentured servant, almost like quasi-slave, right?
What was he sold for again? How much?
Originally £5.
Oh my god.
And then for tobacco.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
For a young man, he was a teenager.
Yeah, teenager. Like probably 1747, he would have been like 16-ish or something.
Yeah.
16, 17 maybe.
16, maybe 17.
Yeah, 16. I think 16.
Oh my god. To have survived the trauma of Culloden, which I can only imagine was a total trauma. And, for the folks that were in Scotland after the horrific aftermath of that, to survive that and then to be sold and taken to a whole nother continent.
Yeah.
When you're a baby.
Right.
Oh, wow.
It was not good.
Not a good time.
Yeah, and being an indentured servant was not an easy job. It sucked. I mean, it wasn't, and I feel like I have to mention this, like indentured servitude was quasi-slavery, right? It wasn't outright full slavery, but you were still treated like chattel, right?
You were still seen as...
You're as inferior, as almost as partially subhuman.
Yeah.
At least for like a time period, right? If you were very lucky, you might get like a nice master, but you still had to be, you're still
subservient
bonded.
to them.
Yeah, you're still bonded to a person.
And a lot of it, but it's also important to note that obviously indentured servants from like Western Europe also didn't have the the race-based
Right.
trauma of enslaved people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I
Like you could pay off, right, your indentured servitude and then just be a normal
right.
colonial person with your little ponytail walking around. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's, in a really simplified way, I think that's accurate. I just love the way you explained that.
You know, their little ponytails
little
and your little
ponytails.
ribbons.
Little colonial man ready to start his apprenticeship, right?
Yes.
Okay, so before I get into the Americas or his time in the Americas any further, I have to bring up the controversy in the historical record.
Okay, yes.
So remember how I told you that? Mm-hmm. So according to one independent researcher, there were 2 William Lawsons who were Scots and
What?
were transported to the colonies at roughly the same time. Oh, no. Yeah, so our William Lawson may not have been the same William Lawson who fought at the Battle of Culloden. Another descendant of this William Lawson, Nancy J. Lawson, published a paper in 2017 detailing her findings on the matter. You know, but I do want to say that this is, you know, a recently stated minority opinion that has not been peer reviewed at all.
Okay.
But I still believe that this warranted a share because, you know, she did do a lot of research into this and she did cite, you know, a decent amount of primary sources. So I felt that at the very least this warranted a share.
How interesting that she did you know, obviously her name's Lawson, that she did such an in-depth history of her own family.
I know.
That's cool.
Exactly. And I just want to say that I just don't feel like I'd be doing my due diligence as an amateur/armchair historian without mentioning
Absolutely. Oh, okay. So she's arguing
that there are 2
that
different ones.
we lost the record of the 14-year-old boy
Right.
somewhere,
And that he's different
than the man
who fought at Culloden.
Uh-huh.
So
No, I'm saying the 14-year-old boy that fought at Culloden, we lost his record somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's different than the dude that's in the Americas.
No.
No?
No. We think that both of them came to the Americas, but one of them was a little bit older, and he fought at Culloden, and then came to the Americas, and then our William Lawson, the 14-year-old, never fought at Culloden and came to the Americas as well.
Okay.
So they were both
So
Scots
they got
that
convoluted somewhere.
Exactly, because they had the same name from Scotland, who both came to the Americas
As
at roughly the
indentured
same
servants.
time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it...
Oh, that's so interesting.
Exactly.
In the Outlander books, because I've read the books too. Not all of them.
Nice.
I told you, they get like really weird, so
Mm-hmm.
I stopped reading them. But it's the same thing when I think for a while, like Claire, sorry if you guys don't watch Outlander, but you're missing out, so go watch it. She's looking
You're like, sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Like, this should hopefully turn you on to the greatest thing you'll ever experience.
Babe, you've seen Game of Thrones, the first 6 seasons.
I love Outlander, I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, she doesn't think at some point, this is a spoiler. At some point when Claire, so skip ahead if you don't want spoilers, when Claire is back in her time, she doesn't think Jaime survived because there were 12 Jaime Frasers on the battlefield of Culloden. So it just cracked me up because it made me think of, I am half Mexican. My mom is from Mexico. How in Mexico everyone names their freaking kid the same thing as their dad.
Oh my god.
So it sounded like the Scottish people had done the same thing where everyone's just named after their dad or their uncle or something.
It's so frustrating. That's
Yeah.
across so
Oh,
many
and
cultures.
the Romans,
and the
the same
Romans
thing.
did that. The Carthaginians were notorious.
Yes. So it just makes record keeping and history so difficult.
I know, in ancient history, it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's just absurd.
Okay, there are no more spoilers.
No more spoilers. Getting back to the story here. Okay, so according to, and I just love this because according to the Scott County Historical Society, William was just a terrible indentured servant.
Oh, he wasn't good at it.
I mean, a young Jacobite that was
Yeah.
forced against his will to come to a different continent.
And is told, like, hey, I got some tobacco in exchange for you, so now you have to go work for this dude and do whatever he says.
For like 5 to 7 years or whatever it was.
Okay, that's a short contract at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it not-
I'm guessing.
Right.
We don't know. We don't have the terms of his contract, but that was
okay.
typical, I think, for the time.
Right. I mean, it must not feel like it in the time. And if you
Right.
survive, right? If you don't die during that time period.
Yeah, exactly.
So he wasn't good at it.
So I'm just gonna I literally just lifted and shifted a few of these paragraphs
Go for
directly
it.
from their website because it's too good.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to read it straight from the babe's lips.
What's the website?
It's just Scott County Historical Society.
Okay.
Yeah. So yet a young man who chafed beneath the yoke of British rule would hardly take well to indentured servitude. From the master's point of view, Lawson probably appeared to be lazy, mean-spirited, argumentative, and good for nothing in general. From our point of view, however, we are likely to be more sympathetic with Lawson. Forced into unwilling servitude far from his homeland, this fiercely independent young Scot could not help but reassert himself through disobedience and outright rebellion. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's more. There's a lot more. So Lawson apparently strove to cause his master grief at every turn, and was quite willing to go to some extremes to accomplish this, though not without a touch of black humor.
Go on.
Go on. Okay. For example, Lawson was highly resentful of the fact that although the household boasted plenty of milk, he never received even the merest portion of it. One day, the mistress told him to go out and feed the cows, then shortly after found him standing before the well with a shock of hay. When she asked him what he was doing, he curtly replied that he was feeding the only cow that ever gave him milk. None of them.
Oh, damn. That's sassy.
It's so sassy, so savage.
Oh my god.
Oh, but here's the one. Okay.
Definitely a fiercely independent Scottish man.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Love him.
And here's the one that highlights his rebellious nature the most. Yet it's my least favorite. And honestly, with our modern sensibility, kind of makes him look even like a bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
But I appreciate that you're giving us a holistic picture.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Even during more mean-spirited outbursts, he retained his sense of humor. While trying to eat dinner in the kitchen one day, one of the master's expensive hounds kept flopping its tail into his plate. Lawson, in a burst of fury, cut the dog's tail off, which caused a tremendous stir in the house. When asked why he did such a cruel thing, he replied that he had been told to eat everything they put on the plate, so he did.
Oh no. William.
William.
Willie.
Will. Come on, buddy.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's why I'm like...
The amount of... I don't excuse that, right?
Right.
That's not cool. Just because you are being treated poorly doesn't mean you get to go to something that is weaker than you and treat it poorly as well.
Right.
But it speaks to the amount of loathing he must have had for them. That he wanted to harm them any way he could, right? Mm-hmm. Like he can't harm them or he can't break free from them, but he can harm their dog.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's that.
I can't imagine the bitterness he must have lived with during that time.
Right?
To have him do something like that.
Yeah. I think it definitely highlights his just outright like anger and rebellious nature kind of coalesce into one.
Yeah, again, that doesn't mean it's okay though.
Right, no, absolutely not. And especially it's an animal, man. I love a dog of all animals.
Right, and the dog's wagging his tail, so he was happy.
Yeah, and now he's not happy because he doesn't have a tail.
Oh no.
Oh, I when I read that, I was like, oh, it's my least favorite.
Of course,
literally the least favorite thing of his entire story.
Of course.
Not when he was imprisoned in a dirty English cell. No. When he cut the dog's tail off. That's not cool.
Also, let me counter. I have a counter.
Okay.
The reason we have these stories of him being sassy, like, I'm going to feed the cows that feed me. Oh, wait, it's none of them. And things like that.
Yeah.
Is probably because, right, his masters were complaining about him.
Yeah.
To someone that was documenting the behavior of an indentured servant, maybe to see if he was good to sell elsewhere. I don't know, right?
Right.
But it's definitely, whatever the reason is, it's definitely the masters that are spreading these stories. What if they exaggerated? What if they lied, right?
That's a very good point.
What if they're like, God, this is such like a brutish person that he even cut our dog's tail off, but they're lying.
And you know what? There's a lot of precedence for that.
Yeah,
I mean, going back thousands of years, people would over-exaggerate all the time.
Yeah, so there you go, babe. I'm giving you a little sliver of hope there.
A little sliver of hope that he wasn't an animal abuser.
Yeah.
You can kill as many people as you want, William. Don't hurt animals.
Oh, no.
Crickets. Guys, that was a joke. Please.
Total joke.
Was a joke. Guys, yeah. You can't see my face, I've realized, because this is a podcast.
Yes, it is a podcast.
Who would have known?
We're in people's ear holes, not their eye holes.
Oh, God, that's even worse. Okay, it's not worse, but that's pretty bad, too. Okay, so back to the story. Unsurprisingly, he didn't last very long at this plantation. He ran away.
Oh,
Yeah, he ran away.
I thought they were like, get out of here, bro.
He ran away. According to one source, he ran away for after a year. There.
Okay.
And we lose him for quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't want to be found.
Yeah, and another source says that there was already Lawsons in the colonies of Virginia and North Carolina, so William probably spent some time with them. And the specific area where he lived in is in present-day southwestern Virginia, northwestern North Carolina, and northeastern Tennessee, which we now know the land is famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, for large portions of old Scottish Jacobite clans.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So he went with his people.
Exactly. And that makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I also feel like it's important to mention that it was during this point in time where he meets the love of his life, Rebecca.
Oh, he found love.
Yeah, they ended up getting married and having a lot of children. At the very least, they had 6, but probably more.
Yeah, they're Catholic.
Yeah, so
that's what they got to do.
You're Catholic. Are we going to have 6 children?
No, definitely not. We also don't cut dog tails off.
That's true. Stella, you're lucky. She's lying right next to us right
Yes, if you heard little tippy tappies on the hardwood before, that's Stella.
That's Stella. Just
our corgi mix.
Yeah, and mascot of the show.
And official mascot of History for Weirdos.
Official mascot. So, but as with all tranquil things, they must come to an end. Yeah, I wrote that on my notes because I wanted to sound ominous.
Oh my gosh.
So we lose him. We know certain things about him, but for 30 years he's kind of just disappears.
That's a long time. He must have just been living a normal, quiet life.
I think he was living a normal homestead life.
Not sleeping because he's got 20 million children.
Yeah, and we know that he is kind of a frontiersman at this time. So kind of cool. But William, who may or may not have fought against the Brits decades before, would be called to do so. And only this time it would be a continent away as a grown man and now as a revolutionary.
Damn.
On September 13th, 1777, at the age of 46 years old, Lawson swore allegiance to the state of Virginia and the American cause as a member of Captain Daniel Trigg's company of the Montgomery County Militia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Called back into a rebellion against the same empire.
The same empire, but a continent away.
That's crazy.
Like across, not the narrow sea. We've been rewatching Game of Thrones lately, so
he crossed the narrow sea on wooden horses with the Dothraki.
Yeah. So this particular company, though, had a badass reputation. They conducted numerous forays against the British allied Native American tribes.
Okay.
So essentially, they specialize in anti-raiding measures, almost like an 18th century equivalent of counterterrorism.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool that they even thought about that.
Yeah. Very, very intense. They're hardcore. A lot of frontiersmen, so they had to understand. It wasn't like your typical 18th century, pitched battles, right? Right. Where they're standing, firing at each other. This was in the mountains, very much so hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
Now we arrive at the pinnacle, or at least the most prolific moment of William's life.
It's not meeting the love of his life or having his 70 children?
No.
Okay, go on. Glad I married you. Keep going.
I know, right? I just have to fight in a battle, and that'll be the pinnacle of my life. Okay. October 7th, 1780. William Lawson was among the Over-Mountain men who fought against the Loyalists, at the Battle of Kings Mountain. And so they were called the Over-Mountain men because, get this.
Okay.
Big brain moment here.
Yeah.
They came from over the mountain.
I mean, simple is effective. That's good marketing. People understand. It's going to stick in your head.
Yeah.
I like it. Good branding.
It reminds me of there's this Roman province in ancient times. There was Cisalpine Gaul and Transalpine Gaul. Literally meaning this side of the mountain's Gaul, that side of the mountain's Gaul.
Direct. Clear. No one, this side or that side. Which one you want to go to?
Exactly. Oh, so good. Okay, so The Battle of Kings Mountain was actually a pretty important victory for the Patriot cause, as this stopped the British invasion from South Carolina into North Carolina.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal. According to Wikipedia, this battle is even called the war's largest all-American fight.
Oh, wow.
Why they said that, I don't know. I think maybe because it was, Patriot militia versus Loyalist militia.
Right.
So they're all, from the Americas, but they're fighting for different sides.
Right. They're all living in the Americas, at least.
Right. Yeah. They weren't, I guess, British regulars.
Yeah.
From across, the narrow sea.
From across the narrow sea with the Dothraki. Go on.
Exactly. So, also fun fact, Davy Crockett's father, John Crockett, fought in this battle.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I know, isn't that crazy?
I had to think about it. I was like, what? The guy with the raccoon on his head?
Yeah, the guy with the raccoon, his dad fought in this battle.
That's so cool.
Yeah. The fighting was super intense, we know. And we also know that William must have fought bravely because he was promoted to the rank of sergeant.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. Go William.
Go William.
So that was pretty cool.
Moving up from that homestead life.
Moving on up, right? So, and it's kind of funny, too, because it made me think, I'm like, so this is like, I'm a direct descendant of this guy.
Yes.
And this dude lived on the other side of the mountains, right? Like, literally, like, bum fudge, middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And had probably a tough life, right? And here I am living in like West Los Angeles, and if my Amazon package is delayed a day, I get really mad.
It definitely puts things into perspective.
I know.
When you think of so many of us, the badass people that you must come from, while you sit on the couch and Netflix is wondering, are you still there?
Yeah, I know.
Are you okay? You haven't moved in hours.
Yes, I'm still okay. I'm just binging the latest show I'm obsessed with, whether it's Squid Game or whatever.
Yes.
Gosh. So, unfortunately, that's pretty much the extent of our knowledge of his involvement in the revolution. We do know that at some point during this time, he befriended a man by the name of Jonathan Wood, who was one of the petitioners and creators of Scott County, Virginia, which, believe it or not, still exists to this day.
I was about to ask, is that still a place?
Yeah, it's still a place.
Virginians, let us know.
If you live in Scott County.
Yeah, or what's it like? Is it cool?
Yeah, I think I went once with my mom when I was like in high school. And sadly, I don't remember a lot of it.
Oh, okay. So, never mind, Virginians.
Yeah. Sorry,
you don't
guys.
need a report.
Yeah.
No,
we still want to report if you've been there or from there or whatever.
Take pictures with cool old buildings. Send them to us.
And in fact, you can even... Oh, sorry. I skipped ahead a little bit.
Oh, go back.
It is going back. Oh,
you guys didn't hear that.
Oh, that was a terrible rewind noise.
I know.
Whatever.
Poor listeners.
Poor listeners. Sorry, guys. I'm not even editing it out. I'm not ashamed. Okay, so... we know also that William died in April of 1826. But don't be sad. He lived a very full life, 94 years old.
Really long life.
And think about it, too. Back then, we take, like, traveling kind of for granted. But, I mean, again, of course, this was against his will, but, like, he saw a lot of the world, like, relative to, what the average person did in that time.
Most people at that time probably would not leave, the county that they're from, the town they're from even. He saw and did so much.
Get this.
For better or worse.
We found, or not we, scientists found the remains of like a 12,000 or 10,000 year old skeleton in northern England, like relatively recently, in the last few years. They found that guy's direct descendants like lived in a town not that far away.
That is creepy.
It's creepy.
That's crazy, though.
And they did a reconstruction of what that guy looked like versus what, his descendant looked like. Nothing. They're like nothing alike.
Oh, okay. But like, wow, to have stayed in the land of your ancestors for that many generations.
Literally.
That's crazy.
I know.
I'd say for most in the world, that's the norm.
Seriously, right?
So William Lawson definitely lived an abnormal or perhaps weird life.
I did say he was a weirdo.
Yeah.
And one of the truest senses of the word.
Yeah, what a strange journey he was on.
And I'm so lucky that I'm related to him,
Maybe. He might be a guy who abused dogs.
He may be. Yeah, that's true. Okay. I know, I had forgotten that momentarily.
You're lucky you get to know about him. A lot of us don't know about
Right.
the people that we come from.
Yeah, especially if they're not like famous, right? You know, and
Yes.
I think locally he is kind of famous, but like very locally,
Yeah.
like to Scott County, Virginia.
Yeah.
So, but still, I think that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
So you can even visit his grave, which is located at the Lawson Confederate Memorial Cemetery. And before, you know...
What?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I needed to include a bullet here because people are going to be confused. So obviously he died before the Civil War. But it's now known as the Confederate Cemetery because, you know, although William was the first person buried, like it was kind of like on top of a little hill.
Yeah.
In subsequent years, you know, after the Civil War, many ex-Confederate soldiers were buried there.
So it became known as a
unsurprisingly-
Confederate cemetery.
Exactly. Even though it predates the Confederacy.
Yeah, I was like, I think they I think they got their timelines wrong.
Yeah, it's like,
but that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why it's known.
Do you remember if you went with your mom to see his grave?
You know what? This is what's sad. I think my mom ended up going.
Yeah.
And I didn't go because, like, I don't even remember what it was. I had probably some stupid, like, homework I had to do.
They
And
had to turn in by a certain
I had to
time.
turn in, so I was like, oh, I can't. I have to do this dumb book report or whatever. I don't even remember what it was because it's
Yeah.
obviously not important. It was high school.
Yeah.
So I think she went, and I think she saw it.
Oh, cool.
And it's really cool. I mean, there's pictures online of it.
Very
and-
nice. We will see it in person one day.
Yeah, we'll see it. I think it's about 2 hours. The largest big city that's near there, because this is in Scott County, Virginia, which is kind of like southwestern Virginia. So the biggest city nearby is about 2 hours away. It's Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now time to list my sources because I write them down now, and I even bold it so I don't forget.
I bold mine too.
Yeah, I know, because you've made fun of me. You can't forget anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so of course, Scott County Historical Society was really good. They had a good page on his history.
Yes.
The Scott County, Virginia official website also had some information that I used. Geni.com, spelled Geni, findagrave.com, and then also that paper I had mentioned, Finding Our True William by Nancy J. Lawson.
How interesting.
Yeah, she did a lot of research.
Is she a professor or something? Do you know?
No, I think she's just like an armchair historian.
That's so cool.
My favorite site, Electric Scotland. I'm not joking.
Oh my God.
I'm not joking. That was literally I didn't use a lot from them, but still, I felt like that name is so cool. I couldn't.
You
not
have to mention it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then my personal favorite, as with everything, Wikipedia.
Perfect. Yay! Thank you so much, babe.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing your personal history on this podcast.
I know, right? Like, this was one of those things where I had a lot of fun researching. Mm-hmm.
I bet, because you're uncovering someone who, like, the remnants of them exist in you.
I know, it's so weird to think about.
You are very stubborn.
I am.
Mean-spirited is also a word that we've heard used to describe you many times. Sassy. Sassy towards cows in particular.
Sorry, I think I might have spit on you because I laughed.
I see the similarities.
Similar,
here.
yeah.
I see it.
I am a homesteader.
You do love that homestead life. You should
living in an apartment in West Los Angeles.
Yeah. I was
Such
gonna
a
say,
homesteader.
I wonder if there's like homestead core on TikTok.
Oh, there definitely is.
I'm gonna look
it's
it up.
kind of like cottage core, right? It's like similar.
I feel like
There's
homestead
crossover.
core, you definitely need to have like one of those little wheat things in your mouth while you whittle.
You know, there is a guy that I follow who has like a farm, but it's like in, I think, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And he has his dog. I think his dog's named Toby.
Wow, that's a good name.
I know, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. But yeah, he has a bunch of like chickens and
I like
stuff
chickens.
like that. I don't know. I don't even listen to what he says. I just look at the animals.
Homestead
I'm like,
core, guys. Let's
yeah,
make it a thing
we're gonna
if
make
it's
it
not
a thing.
already.
I know. I definitely want to make that a thing. But, you know, as always, speaking of TikTok, make sure you follow me if you don't already.
Oh yeah, you guys would love it. Lots of amazing, fun, entertaining, ancient history.
Yeah.
More specific on Roman history at times.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff at Roma Omnia.
Yeah, Roma.omnia. If you just type that into TikTok, you'll find me.
Yeah, and thank you so much again, babe. Thank you to everyone for listening. As always, I know it sounds like so silly or repetitive, I guess, but please, like, leave a review, subscribe if you have not. It helps give us good information and good feedback. Leave an honest review. It just help us and help other weirdos find the podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think you can find us at our main website is on Anchor. I think it's was it anchor.fm/history for weirdos.
Yeah, we have switched to Anchor for our hosting and all the good stuff, and we love it so much. So
yeah, it works really well.
Yeah.
Also, you can email us at historyforweirdos@gmail.com.
Please, we love your emails, and we love hearing from you. And that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it, guys. So until next time.
Bye, weirdos!
Adios!
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist-recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.